Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pernell Bobby, your AstroTherapist, helping you, Pisces Risings that are here, to alleviate whatever suffering you might have in your relationships, in your dating, in your sex life. Helping you also understand potentially a little bit more about your sexuality as a Pisces Rising, which is mutable, so that it already means it can be flexible, because Pisces are ethereal, complete otherworldly, really incapable of being understood by a human being. If any of this already started to interest you, you're looking for a reading, listen to the full video first to see if you like my personal style, and I'll be able to go through and do a natal chart reading with you, which really is more like an astrotherapy session. We do breath work, we do animal oracle readings, which I'm going to give you today. I have one specifically for you that I chose, which is the fish for my Pisces Risings today. And you want to also know that this is going to be directly for Pisces Rising with the Descendant or 7th house in Virgo. If you have your Descendant in Virgo, I'm going to show you what are the shadow aspects today of your relationships. What do you need to know? And basically what is inside of you in order for you to have a successful dating and sex life as a Pisces Rising. So before I go any further, like this video, hit the subscribe. Depending on when you're watching this, I have a Pisces new moon video that's out there right now. All right, depending on what year you see this. Pisces Rising, Virgo 7th house. Okay, starters, Pisces, you need to understand your ruler planet, traditional being Jupiter, okay? And that more modern day being Neptune. Both of them really apply, and we're gonna break them both down today. Now, we need to also understand for your Virgo Descendant, we have to break down a little bit about Mercury in order to understand what you're basically missing, which is inside of you, but it may be very hard for a Pisces to ground into. Now, as a Pisces Rising, understand that you're also rising to become this person. So I'm speaking about this today from personal experience. My progressed rising sign and ascendant is Pisces. My progressed Pisces ascendant is what it is. I am a natal rising sign of Scorpio. So I think I have something very special to offer you today, because one of the key things behind a Pisces Rising is to understand that they have a Scorpio in the 9th house. And this is going to be critical when it comes to what they learn from their relationships and how they can release the Neptunian romanticized dream of what love should be like, could be like, versus the reality that your Virgo 7th house partners reflecting back to you, showing you the reality and the practical natures that are required in a relationship to sustain the romanticism, to sustain the sensuality, and to sustain the romance, the significant relationship, which is 7th house. Pisces Rising, you want something real. When it comes to dating in your sex life, you need something unique, flexible, adaptable in nature. Something that basically is willing to always go through the ebbs and flows, the changes, and whether it's sudden or not, things will change, and you have to understand how to accept endings as a Pisces Rising. Now, this can be endings in certain phases in a relationship that you maintain in order for it to maintain, in order for the relationship to evolve. But this also speaks very clearly for starting to, what your partners you've attracted with a 7th house in Virgo, you've attracted people who will catch on to the little small details that you think you're incapable of, because you're so imaginative and want to be creative with all things esoteric, let's say hidden or unseen. And this is a part of and what's linked to your creativity when you allow yourself with that Aquarius in the 12th house to, from the shadows, from the more isolated and detached parts of any romantic story, right? Like, I don't think any relationship is going to have somebody under your armpits every second. In Aquarius in the 12th house, when you have that time when you're away, either from your friends, which you can easily isolate from, which can put you in very dangerous situations. I think Pisces are the types that attract very potentially abusive partners, okay? Where that abuse can be a form of addiction for them. They can attract narcissistic friends with a high and mighty mind and mentality, okay, about like their ideas are above, and to the point where you, as a passive aggressive sign, as a Pisces, you can fall into very toxic relationships that can become very addictive and a form of escapism, so that you don't have to go through your own personal and more likely emotional transformation in order for you to learn that Scorpio 9th house, the emotional transformation, taking in the darks and the depths that you find, even like I said, through your friends or your connections or certain clubs or hobbies that you're in, because you have that Aquarius in 12th house. That's all Aquarius aspects, 12th house being when you isolate from these things, the higher mind, the consciousness of what these friends, what these networks are showing you, whether you secluded yourself from them or whether you attach yourself tightly to them, unable to let certain things go. What's important is when you're in a relationship and you're dating, you don't want to cling to any connection to such a point where you become and you forget that you are a water sign and you represent, as a Neptune, the depths of the ocean, which to our knowledge is pretty much endless, and 70% or 80% of it is completely unexplored. So what are we saying? In your relationships, be careful of drowning your partners, especially because you're unwilling to go through certain emotional transformations that start with Virgo and your descendant in the 7th house, the significant relationships one-on-one, where they are always having to come to your rescue, or they will treat you like a baby, essentially, who can't do anything for themselves, and like without them, you're pretty much incapable of materializing, Earth sign Virgo, 7th house, your dreams for yourself, okay? Dreams, Pisces, for yourself in the 1st house of Pisces. This could also play if you have Neptune in the 1st house, being one of the parts that create certain illusions. And understand that the Virgo 7th house is built for Neptune and to break the idealism and the romanticism that you crave in your relationships. Virgo has the ability to see the mundane reality of things objectively and with method, strategically approach what needs to happen in order for the sustainability of your relationship. 6th house, when it comes to dating, love, and romance, in any relationship, the 6th house is where I think relationships are either made or broken. Because if you can't get along with, I snore every night, that's a daily Virgo type task. I brush my teeth in the shower, oh, you hate that, you can't get along with this, whatever it is. Virgo will show you the reality of your relationships, and it's showing you that you need certain structures as that are basically a part of your shadow self for you to materialize these dreams. This is what Virgo relationship will show you, whether you are with that partner currently, or if you, what I'm saying is more likely if you didn't make it with a Virgo. Let's say even if you were dating a Virgo rising. So like this year, as a personal experience, I was dating a Virgo rising or someone with a Virgo moon as well. And it's like, one of the things that was happening was me being in this dreamy Pisces rising progressed state. I attracted somebody who's very anal on the details, to the point where I was like, hey man, let's just be free, you know, let's just flow with it. Like, we don't got to take it so serious. And there's another parts of me where, again, this is my progressed Pisces sign, where the other parts of me, what it was showing me was I needed to be less free. I needed to get my shit together. I needed to get more masculine, clear focus, and not allow the slippery slope of relationships to get messy because of idealism, which is where the fish kind of comes in. And I have this as part of my Oracle deck, and I'm going to get you to this for the Pisces Rising, Pisces Ascendant, and Virgo Descendant. The fish stands for 3 things. It's restlessness, change of focus, and it gets lost in the current. Now, mind you, Pisces, Neptune, your ruler, the endless depths of the ocean, right? As well as the subconscious mind, 12th house. That's 98% of that is completely unexplored. We're unfamiliar with 98% of our behaviors that are on just autopilot. So this is kind of like getting lost in the current. Now, the fish loves to be subsumed in life's current. Nothing pleases it more then movement, more movement. The roaming lifestyle of the fish may be exhilarating at first, maybe even for a while, but usually it leads to weariness and slippery relationships with all the possibilities out there in the vast waters. The fish becomes lost without clear goals and intentions. Virgo. Sometime you need to spend time with the lunar forces, dear fish. Cancer. I'm going to get back to that. As the peace and calm of the moon will soothe your soul. When you're out of balance, you're distracted and you change your mind often. And this can happen with a relationship with Pisces Rising. You can, because you have that Gemini in the 4th house, which is very used to people keep changing their mind. You know, in your young, in your youth, in your family life, people keep changing their mind, and they might oftentimes be very objective in the fact checking. They run by Mercury. It's like, hey, here's all the details. And you would have had the discussions and heard everybody in your childhood talking. Potentially you caught them lying. Potentially you caught them just trying to solve problems in a logical way, which skipped over the emotional aspects, the intuitive aspects from an emotional place, the intuition from an emotional place. And so that is what I kind of see there. Changing the mind often, where that comes from. Now, you're distracted or you change your mind often. Everybody knows Geminis are the hugest distraction. You have that as your 4th house. So this is important to understand when you come to dating people. It's like, you know, learn to not fall in love with love, and when it's very beneficial for you to go ahead and make a decision about what you want, more likely than not before you get into the relationship, so that you can actually stabilize and ground yourself with some sort of a frame, so that you can be as free and flowing and ethereal as you are, because you are very unique. I say this as an INFP, okay? So INFP is super like idealistic, 4% of the population, right? Like I am an INFP. So this is part of what's teaching me, like INFPs, we have these humanitarian life goals to change the world. And we see this thing as so cruel and like ugly at times, where it's like, why are people so mean and so harsh? But there's a certain objective reality that Virgo relationships in the 7th house will teach you about what happens on a day-to-day. Now, if you're in balance with this card, you're adaptable and you travel well, okay? To help bring yourself into balance, set a small goal and accomplish it. Now, you can't tell me that this isn't pretty much right on point with the 7th house Virgo and people that you might date. The people you might be attracted to are people that help you set goals, the people that help you materialize it. And what you need to understand as well is what you have to provide them. Because somebody that's going to be super duper anal and be really like on their task to the point where they no longer know even how to have fun, you bring that element of mystery and even some slight aloofness, which really, you know, you're fully aware of the entire emotional sensitivity in the environment that you are currently in. You always understand the emotional environment and the feelings of everybody else around you. And this is where you can be passive because you care to be nice. And so I think this will differ from a Pisces man or a Pisces woman, where like maybe a Pisces man who that woman is now looking for you to be objective and like have the clear goals and be able to set a masculine focus and a clear objective of where we're going and how we're getting there. It could be different than a woman who may naturally more want to be in her, if she's in personal pain, in her healthy state, more on flow and can rest and can just kind of sit back and chill. And like I can tell you, like in my relationship, I caught myself in a phase where it's like, man, we're working hard on like joint business. And then there's another phase where I was like, like, give me a joint, you know, like I'm trying to have a drink. Let's just chill out. Like, let's just go out with no plan. I just want to get on my bike. I want my lady to come with me and let's just ride. Or where we're going, there's no destination, right? It's the journey. And it's kind of where Jupiter plays this role, where it's like, you know, part of your philosophy might just be look to expand and to shoot for the stars with these big major dreams, which can help the Virgo who, or whatever Virgo qualities in your partner that may be lacking Piscean opposite of Virgo, dream and an imagination of a better, more fruitful world. Now, when it comes to the actual sex, what I'll say is, it's like, this is where you want to really focus on the more ethereal forms of sex and not really using sex as a form of escapism. Pisces as a, you might try to escape yourself and the transformations of the ninth house Scorpio that you need to go through, the emotional transformations, where you got to go through the more deeper, potentially even darker depths of your subconscious mind, where, you know, things aren't always as idealistic, romantic, or peachy and dreamy, right? They're like, oh shit, like, you know, I see demons, I see ghosts, you know, I see trauma, you know, I see death, I see things that are happening that needs to be experienced on an emotional plane. I need to honor these emotional triggers that my partner, Virgo 7th house, might be likely invoking within me, in order for me to go through the death rebirth process of Scorpio, so that I can learn from that experience. Now, what happens in this is oftentimes Pisces, you'll run away. You'll find yourself just saying, oh no, this is too tough. We don't want that Scorpio beef. I'm getting the fuck up out of here. Now for me, like I said, I am a natal Scorpio rising. So like, this is one of the ways that this is one of the things that this is revealing to me. It's like, all right now, currently the South Node is in Scorpio. It was a relationship before we even got to this transit that was prepping and priming me for those isolation moments. Because in your isolation, this is when you have cosmic intelligence. With Aquarius in the 12th house, isolation, you have cosmic intelligence that through your friends, you may be able to better understand where the fear and the rejection and the worry and the doubts that an Aquarius will go through in their subconscious mind. You have to make sure that you don't stay so hidden from these friendships, because this will classically give you a Libra in the 8th house. Now, all of these placements can change depending on if your degree is at the earlier end for your Pisces rising, near 0, or the later end, near 29. If it's somewhere in the middle, the placement I'm saying should be pretty accurate. Now, if it's in the beginning or the end, it could be 1 or 2 signs off. So what I'm saying is like, you have a Libra in the 8th house, which will often might let you hide your relationships, hide your friends, like not really be so vocal, or not even have a lot of friends, not be so social. You could really be a loner. I think I'm a loner naturally, quite frankly. I just am. And this is one of the things that this relationship, that when I dated a Virgo rising in my progressed Pisces rising format, one of the things that was revealed to me is like, I'm a loner. Like, I need time. I need hella time by myself. Like, I often would even want this person to be in my space, in my atmosphere, but I don't want to be bothered. Like, I don't actually want to be talked to at every moment. Like, I might even like to have, you know, this woman or this lady snuggled in my armpit, even if we're just like chilling and like dicking off into a movie. But I don't always necessarily want to talk. I don't always want to necessarily have to socialize. Like, you know, for me, it could have just been like, I needed a lot more time. Like I couldn't quite frankly deal with the needy type shit. Like so I don't know if this is a me thing. I don't know if this is a Pisces rising thing. Maybe somebody can comment in the chat below and help me confirm that. But at least from a sex standpoint, what I would like to say is sex needs to be very ethereal, and it needs to be not so much lustful. And I found myself in this position during this time frame. I found my partner being more lustful, which was showing me in stages of my life, okay? Because I am a Aries stellium in my natal chart, not my progressed chart where I'm talking about now, the Pisces, where my partner was showing me in what stages of my youth have I been more lustful. For Pisces risings, like, you're gonna rise to not really be in that center of that space of lust. In fact, you would have a Cancer 5th house, which would say you might be very side to side when it comes to romance, not really willing to just go forward and direct until you feel emotionally safe. Because you know that as a Pisces rising, as you start to feel emotionally safe with somebody, you get beyond that non-committal stages of romance, and you start getting into wanting to show your love daily. This is Leo in the 6th house, a part of you dating your relationship. You might want to start showing your love on a day-to-day. You might want that love to be, you might want to praise your love. You might want your partner even to praise the love for you. And like, I found myself really enjoying this. You know, my partner like, oh yes, like, you know, Pernell's the best, and you know, Pernell's like my favorite astrologer, and like this shit was like, yeah, tell me that shit every day. And it also showed me, again, a part of my natal, I'm a 5th house stellium. I have a 5th house stellium, so like that praise in my sun and my moon and my Mercury, it's like all that, like, feed me this Leo excitement and this Leo light and this Leo royalty. I am royalty. So it was one of the things reminding me that I'm royalty. So if you're the Pisces rising, you'll have that 6th house in Virgo. That 6th house in Leo, which is like, you know, this will be, you need that praise in your relationship. You need to be lifted up. It helps your self-esteem and it helps your creativity and for you to feel confident, like Leo gives, to feel bold and confident and assertive when you get that from your partner day to day. So I had to learn as a part of my emotional transformation that this is just something that I want, you know, straight up. Like it's something that I want. And what I was doing as a part of trying to have that projected back to me was I was always the person to praise my partners. Now, as a male in 2022, praising your partner, whenever y'all watch this, whether this is in the future or in the past, you know, males praising their partner, males praising their woman, you know, there's a certain line where women will believe you to be the nice guy. And that can get you really fucked up because now you can sit there and be the financial backbone, the one that listens to their problems, and basically the one that gets constantly snatched away from their purpose and their direction as a masculine figure, as a masculine energy. And that's not good. That's off. So what I was projecting through and what I didn't do in this particular relationship, which is ironic, was my partner was the one feeding that. Now, what's important is you need to be careful for the love bombing because as a Pisces rising, you're very idealistic, right? You love love. So as soon as that love bombing may stop, you have to be careful by attracting narcissistic type personalities, people with narcissistic disorders, because they might give you that love bomb and give you the whole entire world and show you up front that, look, I can take care of all these mundane little tasks up front for you, all the little things, the details that you don't want to worry about, everything Virgo like. I'm your significant 7th house partner. I can take care of all of that. I can save your entire day. I can save your entire world. Now, Pisces rising, you might really fall for this because you know it's a part of what you want, but you have to make sure that you are able to secure these qualities within yourself. I think personally, before you get into the relationship, where that just becomes not a form of transactional love, but just a form of the transaction then becomes compassion. The transaction then becomes intimacy, which you need. So for the sex itself, I think that, you know, everyone will speak about your passive aggressiveness. I think this really matters on where your Mars is, because I've seen Pisces women that I've connected with like a Mars and Sagittarius, and it's like, this woman was an absolute fucking savage. Okay, so it's like, you know, there was that soft, sweet side of her, but it's like, okay, when it comes to sex drive itself, it's like, nope, not really passive aggressive at all. Like, she knows what she wants, she go gets it, right? So I'd be careful of like allowing people to tell you that you're only passive aggressive and you don't have a strong muscle in your body, because that's not true. You just need to know your entire placement. Get a natal chart reading with me so I can help you understand that for yourself. You can book everything down below. And but beyond that, it's ethereal. So I find myself really focusing on sex magic in this particular relationship. And it's like, you know, before sex, like, we would both, and I would like lead this, like, you know, what is your intention? I'm talking before insertion, okay? Before penetration. It's like, hey, what is your intention that you would like to manifest? And that could have been something as simple as like, I would like to manifest more peace in our relationship. Or I would like to manifest that project. I want that thing to blow off and I want to start making money from it, okay? And so now when the both of you set both of your intentions, okay, more spiritual form, okay? It's not just about the finish. It's not about getting from point A to point B. And I find that if you find yourself with lustful type partners, this can really disrupt your natural sexual flow, and you might be passive enough to just let certain things happen and, you know, feel wrong about it, but not say something. Like, I remember a time when like I sat there and I remember it was like, no, like, slow down. Not even from a performance standpoint, from a point of like, you know, I was enjoying the sensuality of the relationship, which a Pisces is really magical at. Sensuality, the dreamy type love. And it's like, my person in this moment, they weren't in that same state. And it was just like, my wish was pretty much disregarded. And that was a very significant event in that particular relationship, me as a Pisces rising in that progressed natal chart. Because from there, it was like this awkwardness where I found myself wanting to not really like express why I was uncomfortable with X, Y, and Z, but it had to happen. And this was part of my lessons. Like, I had to speak up. The part of what I learned from the relationship was like, you have to speak up. You have to use your voice, because you might classically have an Aries for your second house for your value systems, where it's like, you know, whatever you value, you have to be very, you know, on the point and instinctual with it. Now, Libra in the 8th house, again, instinctual. Usually Libra will think about a lot of the different things. They'll bounce their mind off a lot with a Pisces rising, and Libra in the 8th house, they'll bounce their minds off a lot in their intimate soul type connections. And they'll think so much that they'll realize the Libra's first instinct, like Aries, is generally correct, but they'll bounce all these other scenarios off in order to make sure that they come out with the best win-win situation for their partner, or who they're married to, or who they're intimately connected with. Now, as a part of that, don't ever forget that your first instinct was generally correct. This is the value that you need to value as Aries in your second house. You need to value that your instinct, whether it's impulsive or not, generally it needs to be valued. It's a link to your personal self-worth and what you value, especially for your creative projects. Let's say that you will need to have that emotional energy to be driving for you, because you have 5th house in your place of creativity in Cancer, which says, look, you need to feel emotionally safe and driven to do it. If you don't feel driven, you don't feel emotionally inspired to do something, you likely won't. But if you do, then you value that Aries second house will say, look, we can go ahead and push that project forward. And Aries has a very clear objective mind. So this is one of the things that you dating a Virgo 7th house, or whatever shadow aspects they're showing you, you have that objective mind of the Aries second house is saying, look, I'm going to take this clear objective approach. I can see the plan. I can see the future. All fire signs can. And you have that 10th house in Sagittarius, where you want that partner who will really potentially run side by side with you on all of your spiritual pursuits, especially on the public scale, and how you guys show up in the more contractual forms or even public images of your love. And I found this for myself. It's like I wanted to show up as that more spiritual form of my love. So it was all training ground, because coming in this year, I'm gonna have 3 Pisces progressed into the 10th house of Pisces. I forget what, Venus, Jupiter, and something else. So, it was showing me, like, with this placement, you're rising to become this, right? So you may not be this off the rip, but you're rising as a Pisces to grow into this aspect. So in these relationships you dating, you're gonna likely, probably not really, and I found this for myself, really only want to have sex, like, depends on your full placements. I gotta give that credit, but you might only want to have sex like once a month, like 12 times a year, 15, 20 times a year, because sex for you is not about the human physical pleasure. It's about ethereal and spiritual connection to the divine. Okay, it's about reaching ascension and basically co-creating with the universe and God itself with your life force energy. Let's say your seed, or your sperm, your semen, or your eggs if you're a woman. And these more ultimate forms of love is what I know I found myself with, where there was an entire saga where like sex magic was the thing. And what you need to watch out for is like, not everyone is going to have the same intention as you. And this is where the Virgo 7th house descendant will teach you to really look at the details. Not everyone's going to have the same purity of intention or a connection to something so magical. And it's something that, like, okay, I had to go through this 9th house Scorpio transformation, death, rebirth, and like let go of my idea of what I thought was what it was, the relationship was, versus really starting to see the whole card facts that Virgo 7th house can teach you. So when it comes to sex, what I will say is, like, make sure that you have something of a sensual love. I would say some of your best sexual partners will be a Taurus, potentially a Scorpio. I don't really know about Cancer, if I'm being honest. Maybe some Cancer placements. I don't know about a full Cancer, but I don't know. That's a different story. Taurus for sure. I would say Taurus and Scorpio are like 2 of your best. I would say those are 2 of your best because of what they provide from a sensual level. Taurus, they're both being the house of sex as well, but them both being like very intimate and even slow to love, because of Pisces rising, like you're slow to love. Okay, mind you, your romance is 5th house Cancer, so you take your time to go back and forth and indirectly touch on these emotional buttons to see, is this safe for me to move forward in this romance before I start to show myself out to public. And I remember having this conversation where I was like, look, like, it feels like you want to show me off, but I don't really feel safe with the intention behind why. And this caused some conflict. It's caused a little bit of tension. And that was something for me to just, you have to, Pisces, you have such a divine intuition. You have to learn to really honor and trust those, which are going to be something that other people will never really understand. Like I am a life path 11, so I can speak out about it from that standpoint as well. It's like your mind does not work in a rational format. Okay. Your mind can just skip, honestly, a lot of steps, and you can just intuitively be like, I used to have another complete ex-girlfriend that would go, I don't know how I do it. Sometimes I just do it like this, and I just go, ooh, that way. And, you know, I felt these little sparks, and what I learned as a part of this, as a Pisces rising, your dating and sex life, is to go ahead and trust these moments, okay? And really don't settle for less, okay? For Pisces rising, whatever you think you deserve more. Because again, what you deserve is kind of what you already have when you talk about the universe. I have, which is Taurus, aka second house. So if you have areas in the second house of what you have, you may be just too quick to assess what you have, too quick to assess your worth, too quick to assess your value, too quick to assess or not assess your self-esteem. And as a part of that, you will likely deserve more, because I know you bring something so beautiful into the world. And I'm speaking about this from personal experience, and it's like you deserve more than what you think you do. And it's not for any other reason rather than a certain restlessness and not going into a relationship with clear-cut, clean intentions. You have that duality aspect to you. The last thing that I will say is you're likely to be more you and the free flow of you when you are under any influence. I don't think that you, if you're depending on your stage, you might rely on certain drugs to go ahead and feel safe or comfortable enough to have sex. But I think that as you keep rising, which you are a rising sign, as you keep rising, I think you're going to focus on the more spiritual forms of sex, which would not require any mind-altering substances, but to realize that the act of divinity, okay, with the process that can create a baby, or an intention if you're focusing on different sexual magical practices. And if you want to do some consultations on that, again, book with me. You know, sex magic is a big topic of mine. I mean, I am a Scorpio rising naturally, and I would say that, you know, you never want to be in a place where you have to watch where you may be avoiding certain deep emotional topics that you're avoiding through different substances, whether that is sex, alcohol, weed, coke, whatever to do. I think the higher forms of you and who you grow to become and evolve into doesn't really require that at all, and you might actually enjoy the natural and ethereal forms of it. So this is Pernell Bobby, finally asking you to hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for checking in with your boy. If this really resonated with you, I want you to drop a Pisces sign down below if you have a Pisces rising, or a Virgo sign if you dated a Virgo. And please do tell us in the comments about your personal experience in this dating space and what you would like to hear from me next.